Hi everyone, Melissa here. Today I'm going to be doing a pretty simple mani with some of my favorite colors that I've gotten recently. Well, these ones are new, this one's not. For my birthday tomorrow, I just kind of want some colors I love and something pretty simple. So I figured this was a great chance for me to go over what I think are the most important things that you need to do to get a nice clean cuticle line with dip powder. So I'm going to just be going over that while I do this set. So I'm going to be using Cascade Colorworks Sea Glass, which is a nice kind of like a neutral green. Dove, which is kind of a gray, purpley gray, hard to describe. Beautiful, neutral. You know, anybody who watches me knows I love my neutral colors. And that I also love pairing kind of pinky colors with greens. It just makes me happy. I don't know why. So I'm also going to be using Lichen from Cascade Colorworks with this set. So the first and most important thing, in my opinion, for making sure that, not most important thing, but the first important thing for making sure that you get clean cuticle lines is to make sure you have clean cuticles. You got to make sure that you clean off the invisible cuticle that's stuck to the nail and that you have a nice clean area to work with. If you don't have that, it's going to be very difficult to get clean cuticle lines with dip powder. The next thing is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and open up the first color I'm going to be working with. I think I'm going to do Dove on these two. I kind of have the solids laid out, the idea, but I think I'm going to end up doing some kind of a ombre with the glitter too. I haven't quite decided yet. But I'm gonna go ahead and get dipping with Dove and I'll show you my tricks with Dove. And very important is to make sure that you do not have too much liquid on your brush. You want to wipe off, I always wipe off one side of the brush on the inside of the neck. If you wipe on the outside of the neck, this is essentially glue. You're gonna glue your bottle shut. You don't want to do that. So I like to wipe off about half of it on the inside of the neck, maybe a little bit more. No, about half. It's good. Then when I go onto the nail, when I lay the brush down, I lay it down below where the cuticle is. Point your finger down. I mean, this is a good way to really get used to, it's kind of muscle memory, getting used to how to do this properly. But starting with the finger pointing downward, the nail pointing downward is a great way to do it, to make sure that the liquids don't drip down or flood the cuticle. Put the brush on the nail and fan it up towards the cuticle so that it fits the cuticle shape, and then we're going to pull the brush down on either side in the shape of the cuticle on the sides. Okay, and then I'm just gonna lay my nail into the powder. And then after that, you can kind of take a look, see if you got any of the liquid somewhere you didn't want it to be, because sometimes despite our best efforts, we still get a little bit of liquid flooding, running. It also depends on how thin your liquid is. I know a lot are much thinner or more prone to running, but you'll want to use either a water marbling tool, something with a sharp end. This is a 1mm dotting tool, and just run that around the edge of the cuticle, and that'll make sure if you have any flooding in there, any extra powder that got in, you can thin that out. Now I know I'm not doing a half layer on the nail or apex method or anything like that. That's because I typically end up doing my apex shaping with my filing more than I do with my dipping. I'd be happy to, I'll probably do a video in the future on how I do that. But I'm gonna go ahead and just do a couple more dips, doing it the same way. Come up here at the top, kind of fan it up so that it's kind of fans up into the shape of the cuticle, pull down. And there is one finished nail, but we haven't filed yet, so it does look a little bit thicker towards the cuticle than it will end up looking once the filing happens. So I'm going to go ahead and dip that color on the other nails and then get the other nails dipped out too. Okay, now for glitter, it's the same idea. Nice, clean, careful application of the base in a thin layer, and then of course going around the cuticle to clean it up with some kind of tool. Now if it's a chunky glitter, you may have some glitters that are kind of overlapping onto the cuticle. In that case, something like cuticle nippers are perfect for clipping any overhanging pieces away to help make sure you are not hanging over onto the cuticle. And then you can just, if you do have pieces that are overhanging with small ones, you can just kind of scrape them away with some kind of tool that you're going to use. Make sure that's nice and clean. Okay, now I have all the dip powder down. I'm just going to activate these and then we can get into the filing. Okay, while I'm waiting for the activator to dry, I'm going to go ahead, because I almost forgot, to mention what is on my other hand. It's the same one I was wearing in my last video. It's Dipomania Necromancer, and I will link that below. Okay, so now filing to make sure that cuticle stays nice and clean and that you can see that clean line. You can see because of this bulk, you can't really see the clean line. There are places where when you run the tool around the cuticle, it will cause some of the powder to stick up and you may have a bit of a ledge, and you kind of have to work with that and get it cleared down. So what I always do is I will use a file of some kind to go around the cuticle. Now a banana file like this works really well because it gets a curve into the cuticle. You want to make sure that you file down the edge of it though, because it can cut into your skin if you're not careful. Or a glass file like this is also great because it's very gentle on the skin and you can get right up along that edge and file along the cuticle line to clean that. So if you have any little edges that are popping up, sticking up, little glitters that are popping up, anything like that, you can clean it up really nicely just by filing around the cuticle. So I'm just going to show you my full file of this nail so we can see how well it cleans up. Okay, so you can see after filing, we have a nice clean edge right around that cuticle. I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the rest of them, and then we'll be back to work through a little bit more design, and you guys can just hang out with me while I try and finish up this design. Okay, so I've got this all filed up. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of a waterfall ombre on this nail with lichen, so I'm gonna be, I still have it over here because I knew I was gonna use it again. I'm just gonna open her up and grab one of my ombre brushes. I like to use these shorter bristled brushes for the ombre because I just get more control with them in my opinion. I'm going to do a layer of dip base and let it dry because this first layer is going to dry very quickly due to the activator and the layers underneath. Okay, and I'm going to do another layer, and again I want to make sure that I am paying close attention to the shape of the cuticle line when I apply this base because that's where the glitter is going to be. Make sure that I'm still following that cuticle line really carefully. Okay, and I think that glitter is on there flat enough that I don't need to do another dip of clear over the top. I should just be able to activate in the top coat. It doesn't have any glitter sticking up. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up this. Okay, now top coat is also important in making sure that your cuticles look really nice and clean. So you want to make sure that you apply your top coat neatly at the cuticle line as well. I'll do it on this one because you can see the nail a little bit better. But I like to just go up and make sure that you are covering the entire nail nicely.
Step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can.
All right, and there we go. Thank you so much for joining me for my birthday nails. I hope you like them. I love them. They make me very happy, and I think that's what matters. But I also hope that you learned something today regarding how to get a nice clean cuticle line. And if you did, let me know below. And thank you as always for joining me. I'll see you next time.
You and me, meant to be.